I was at the supermarket just doing the usual weekly shop. I was on the bread aisle and my heart just started to go boom, 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 like so fast. Right, I need you to sign this form to self-discharge and see how you feel in the morning. So you're probably just having a bit of a panic attack. There were two main cardiologists who would take us seriously, and that was when I started to get some care. But this was probably 8 months down the track now. And the sad part was the waiting room was full of young people. Like, that's not what a cardiologist's waiting room should look like, ever. And that's when I was like, all right, there's going to be a lot of us out here. I was just really exhausted and just terrified to go to sleep every day. You just were worried, am I going to wake up? Because you just don't know. When you have a little human that looks up to you, just like, I've got to do everything I can. Prior to the vaccine, I was a very sporty girl. I love sport. I studied sport. I play sport. Went to the gym most days. I had a little girl. She was 2. And yeah, I was a very active, fun lifestyle. I never wanted to get vaccinated. It was not something I wanted to do. But unfortunately, I worked in education. I waited as long as I could, and it got to December. And I just had no choice, and I went and got vaccinated because I felt like I had to. If I wanted to keep an income, pay a mortgage, go to places with my child, have a normal life, I would kind of need to. And also, you were labelled as a crazy person. You were out of the norm. You were just like, what's wrong with you? Why would you not? You're so selfish. How dare you? Kind of thing. And I even asked the lady who was vaccinating me, what are the chances of me having a reaction? Because I was so nervous. I had this gut feeling that I don't know, I just kind of knew I wasn't going to react well. She's like, no, it's very rare. You'll be fine. And I got it. And I was actually fine for 16 hours. And then it all went downhill. I was at the supermarket just doing the usual weekly shop. And I remember exactly, I was on the bread aisle and my heart just started to go boom, 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 like so fast. And I've never, like, I'm quite fit, well, I was quite fit, and you know, you get puffed and things like that, but I've never experienced such a fast beating heart. And I called my daughter's dad at the time. I said, something's wrong. I think it's not going well. My heart's beating really fast. Called mum and dad to come look after Isla. And off I went to Shore Care first. So I went to A&E and I said, my heart is crazy, I'm struggling to breathe. They were great at A&E. They took me, they connected ECG, and they're like, you need to go straight to the hospital. And so I did. We went to the hospital and they were assholes. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Essentially, I got there and I said, I just got vaccinated. And my heart is pounding, I'm really struggling to breathe, something is really wrong. And they said, oh, go sit down and we'll come talk to you in a minute. And no one was talking to me. It was packed. The hospital was very busy at the time. And when I said, oh, I'm having chest pains, is anybody going to come see me? Like, I've been sent from Shore Care here because clearly things weren't great. And they said, yeah, just give us a minute. And then a nurse came to see me and he said, it's going to take about 19 hours for us to be able to see you. My advice for you is to go home. Right, I need you to sign this form to self-discharge and see how you feel in the morning. So you're probably just having a bit of a panic attack. I signed papers that I'm going home, and I will never forget it. I was terrified to go to sleep because you're like, what if I don't wake up? Like, my heart, I just felt off. And then as the days carried on, I started to get lumps in my arms, across my chest. I had chronic fatigue. I had blurry vision. I had real bad brain fog. Like, I couldn't remember things very easily. I was very confused. And then I had numbness in all of my limbs. So it kind of just started to deteriorate from the day after. I tried to go to a different place. I went to a different A&E and saying, like, I just don't feel very well. And they also sent me home and they said, oh, it's normal. It's a normal reaction to the vaccine. Just give it a few days and you should come right. I didn't, and it carried on. I couldn't really get out of bed for about 2 good weeks. Couldn't really function very well. I'm very thankful, though, that my lumps, the fatigue, blurry vision, that all did end up going quite quickly. The brain fog did stay for a while, but the biggest one was my chest pains. That was really bad, and it was scary. It's the way I describe it is when you get a cramp, it's like that, but in your chest, and it just cramps up, and you're just waiting for it to uncramp itself, essentially.
Did you go to your GP?
She actually left during that time. Before I got vaccinated, I called her and I asked her, what happens if I have a reaction? And she said, we know what to do with that, so you'll be fine. So that was also a reason I went and got it, because she kind of gave me that reassurance that if I don't react well, I'll get care. But I didn't. But then the chest pain didn't go away. So I went to a cardiologist and did all the tests, and he said, oh, you're fine. His wife was one of the COVID nurses on ED, and he was saying, you know, you're very lucky, like you should see it's terrible out there. Discharged me. He was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Go for a run. So I did. Me thinking, great, I can go for a run. And after that run, I deteriorated very quickly with my chest pains. And I'm very lucky that my mum was very well researched on all of this. So I knew don't exercise, rest, and then supplement galore. And I took everything that would try and fix me. I tried saunas, I tried all these natural ways to try and fix my body, because I realized at this point, no one's going to help me. I kind of have to fix myself.
Did the cardiologist diagnose you?
No, nothing at the time.
No paperwork, nothing?
No, you're fine. Nothing's wrong with you. I did a lot of research, and there was a really cool Facebook group called Kiwis with Myocarditis and Pericarditis, and I joined it. It was 10,000 of us, which was crazy. Yeah, but it was the most, like, coolest, probably the wrong word, but it was the best page, because from that page, people were asking, has anyone met with cardiologists that listen and that actually realise the vaccine is causing these things to young people? There were 2 main cardiologists who were known in the vaccine injured community that would take us seriously and be thorough and help. And I went to see them, and that was when I started to get some care. But this was probably 8 months down the track now. And as you can imagine, they had wait list galore, because they were the only ones that cared about us.
Only 2?
2. Yeah, 2 cardiologists. And so I had my first MRI through them. And the first MRI, they were kind of inconclusive. Like, you might have pericarditis, but we're not so sure. And I think it's because during the MRI, I was very stressed out, because they inject that dye in you. And I was terrified to get anything injected into my body again. And ironically, they said that every vaccine person they've had, they're not scared of being in that machine. They're scared of the dye. And he said they've never really seen that before. And the sad part was the waiting room was full of young people. Like, that's not what a cardiologist's waiting room should look like, ever. Lots of fit and healthy people. When I had my MRI, next to me was an 18-year-old girl, and she was, they found something quite bad with her. And that's when I was like, all right, there's going to be a lot of us out here. So I was 27 at the time. I then wasn't getting better. I still couldn't exercise. I was still getting chest pains. I'm still, I did go to the hospital a few times as well in between, but only because I felt scared not to. You know, what if something is wrong? What if something does happen? And I learnt to just not care about their judgment. And I just learnt to be more firm. And I think they also must have seen it more and more, because they also got better at taking care of me. But they could never find anything. My troponin was fine. Everything was fine. I'm presenting as this perfect, fit, healthy female. So they just were like, there is nothing wrong with you. And I'm like, no, there's something wrong. You just can't find it. So then I got to repeat my MRI a year later because I was just getting no better. And the cardiologist was like, we may have missed something. Let's do it again. And again, I'm so thankful for them that they didn't give up. And then it was my second MRI that they finally found what was wrong. And they did find myocarditis. And so they said, I don't have it now, but they can see the scarring from it. But ironically, they didn't write it down. So whilst they were great and they communicated to me that this is what you've had, they didn't put it on paper, which I found quite interesting. But I think it was reassuring to know, okay, I'm not crazy. I did have myocarditis and, thank God I stopped exercising because it could have turned out very differently for me if I kept going and listened to the first cardiologist who told me that nothing was wrong. Yeah, it's been 3 years now, nearly, and went for my first run a few weeks ago, which was really fun and exciting. But, I'm now a solo parent and I was terrified that night. I think the hardest thing of this whole journey is the fear of, will I wake up? Will this happen again? And what is actually in my body, because I'm terrified to even think what I've done to it post what I've put in. But I think if I didn't have that little human that looked up to me, I would have given up, because it was, when you have someone who's like, I need you, mum, you're just like, okay, what can I do to fix myself? So yeah, I spent thousands of dollars. So I'm pretty lucky that I have health insurance, thanks to my clued up parents, and health insurance, AIA, covered everything for vaccine related. They were great. They didn't question me, nothing. They've covered every MRI, every cardiologist appointment. They have been incredible. But everything natural that I tried cost money. So I reckon I would have spent supplements, saunas. I don't remember what I did, this other thing, the oxygen. I don't know what it's called anymore. But I sat in this machine. Honestly, it was bizarre. I felt weird. But I did anything that I could find and researched and, reading on pages that people have tried. But yeah, I spent a lot of personal money on trying to get back to normal. At the time, I worked in education, and essentially if I was allowed to be on campus, I had to have a vaccine pass. And I got one, which meant I didn't have a vaccine pass because you needed 2. And on the medical exemption form, you needed to get, so I ticked 3 boxes, but I didn't tick the 4th, and that was there's no other vaccine available in New Zealand, but at the time they just bought the AstraZeneca. So the expectation was I went and got that, and I said, hell no, I'm not putting anything else into my body. And so, yeah, I literally had my HR meetings to say, sorry, we're letting you go because you don't have a vaccine pass. So you can no longer work for us. And that was tough because you have mortgage, bills, child, life. Yeah, I'm not well. Yeah, it was pretty rough. And it was 2 days before I was losing my job, so the final date, and Jacinda pulled the mandate. So I got to keep my job because it was 2 days. But 2 days, if any later, I would have been gone. It was tough for them as well. And I think it's a reflection of the whole time of the craziness of it all, they were like, this is horrible and we're really sorry. But we have no choice. They were supportive. They gave me a lot of time off to kind of recover and things like that. They were great. But also how easily they were to let you go. when I've worked so hard. I was there for 7 years. So you've worked hard and you've been a great employee, and then because of a vaccine pass, sorry. And we were online anyways. We went on campus. So anyways, it was, I'm smiling as I talk about it because I look back at it and I'm like, I can't believe I just went through all that. But I think the hardest part was not having a vaccine pass, was not being able to do anything. So I missed my friend's wedding. I'll never forget it. My daughter got stung by a bee, and I was standing outside the medical centre, and they're like, oh, have you got your vaccine pass? And I don't know why I didn't just say yes. And I said, oh, no, I've only had one. And they're like, you can't come in. I was like, but I need you to help me with my child. Like, you guys can't come in. We can't look after her. Is there someone else you can call? So I had to call her dad, who was he was vaccinated, and I wasn't allowed in. He took her in. I'm just standing outside like a idiot because I didn't have a pass. And also I'm Jewish, so, you know, you felt like it just reminded you of all these things of like, you can't be here because you're this, but everyone else can come here because they're this. So you've got to wait on the outside. And I think that was really challenging as well, because socially you were this stranded loner. Physically, your body is ruined, and mentally you're just drained. So you're kind of in this lost place in life of like, what is going on in the world and how do I get through this? Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird time. And even my friend, not long ago, they were talking about the wedding that I couldn't attend, and they were all like, we can't believe we didn't just say you had a vaccine pass, like, and just let you come. Like, how stupid were we? I'm like, yeah, we were all stupid.
And what about your friends and family? Have they been supportive?
Yeah, I think mum, dad, and my sister were the best. And my partner was really good. My ex-partner was good. But it was tough. It was tough on all of us. I'm very, very thankful, especially for my mum. If it wasn't for her, I don't think I'd be here. She just educated me on all of it. I would have just kept running. I would have just persevered. I've got a very determined personality that I would have just kept going, and I would have believed the media, and I would have believed that, yeah, I'm having panic attacks, and I would have believed all that. But she was like, no, this is what's going on, and kept sending me things. And I was like, holy crap, like, yeah. And so she taught me a lot about everything, to question more than I ever would have, but also taught me about the reaction. Otherwise I wouldn't have. I mean, where do you read about it? You couldn't. There was that page, it was called Kiwis with Pericarditis and Myocarditis, and there was 10,000 people on it, and it was like, when you're going through something that no one can understand, there was something there that people could all relate, and we would all talk about our stories, and everyone was sharing ideas of what's working, what's not working, where do you go, what supplements do you take. And a few months later, Facebook shook it down because it was a anti-vax page, and we lost all of that information, everything. And it was really sad because you lost your community of people who were just like you. And so you had to go back to square one and try find them and try find new pages, but Facebook kept removing them. The NZ SOS doctors, they were incredibly supportive, and they picked up the phone straight away, and they were godsend. They were the ones who told me what supplements to take, what to do. They were incredible, and they all deserve medals for the work they did and looking after us and getting us supplements and anything and everything to try and help us recover. It was all online, and just the one online conversation with them versus actually going to the hospital with chest pain was, you felt heard. The last time I was in hospital, they have seen so many of me that they were just like, yep, we're checking absolutely everything, and we're not letting you go until all your tests come back clear. And they actually repeated the tests. So never have they repeated the tests, but, you know, if they took it so seriously, whereas if you roll back 3 years ago, I self-discharged because I'm having a panic attack. So it's a very different experience. Every interaction I've ever had with a human, I tell them my story, because I think if I don't tell them my story, how are they going to know this happened? It's my job to educate. And so I educate as many people as I can. And 3 years on, no one questions the truth of what I talk about. So I will tell everyone all about vaccine injuries and try to educate where I can, because I think the power of the voice when it gets shut down by the media is still more powerful. I feel now I can exercise again, and I played my first touch game in 3 years and loved it, and I'm going to join a netball team, so I feel like I'm getting back. And it's not that I don't have chest pains still, I still do get them, but they are different. They're not as painful, it's not as chaotic, and it's not as frequent.
How do you feel about the vaccination rollout now?
I'm surprised that it even happened in the first place, and that we were all sheep almost, and we just said, yep, let's all do this because someone told us to, and everyone just kind of went along with it. And if you didn't go along with it, you're crazy. And I think when I look back, it's such a bizarre time to think about, because we were all so stupid almost, and naive to think, we've got to do it. I think there should always be choice. You should never feel forced to put something in your body you don't want to. Every person that I tell my story to always says, I never really wanted to get it, but I felt that I had to. Everyone says that. Very few people have I met that believe that it would have saved them from COVID. So I feel like in my mind, I've kind of moved on from that space in my life. I was very angry at the world, like, why has this happened to me? But I still have a lot of anger, but I think I've come to peace with my choice to get vaccinated. And that was the hardest part, is you're like, why did I do that in the first place? I just need to move forward, or I'm just going to stew forever about my decision.